Hello, VMware User Group in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I want to start by thanking you for our deep partnership. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about VMware's proposition. It all starts with the core DNA of engines that fuel VMware. Innovation and customer obsession. That's what's fueled us the last 20 years, and that's what's going to fuel us for the next 20 years. Customer obsession, we've been very fortunate to be among the top 5 companies to consistently score the highest in NPS. Innovation, let me tell you a little bit about the way you can think about our product portfolio. It all starts with apps being at the core of everything that infrastructure supports. And in the data center, we start with software defining compute, storage, networking, and layering management on top of that. I've sometimes described it like baking a cake, where you have flour, eggs, sugar, and icing on top of it. That's really kind of what like a data center is. So as you take a software defined approach, you are able to reduce cost, you're able to reduce complexity, reduce carbon, and now you make yourself more agile for the potential move to the hybrid cloud. So the entire world of a data center moving to the cloud is what we would call the hybrid cloud journey. You can't achieve this hybrid cloud journey without networking, and software-defined networking is the core of what VMware's differentiation is in that entire networking stack. And we've really focused on not just the data center, but the data center to the cloud and to the branch, with new areas like SD-WAN, with our acquisition of VeloCloud, that every one of you should take note of. Once you're in the cloud, you start to realize it's not just a single cloud, it's a multi-cloud world. And this is where you need tools like Cloud Health to help you manage the resources and cost of a multi-cloud world, whether it's on top of AWS or Azure or Google or IBM or many other VMware clouds. And our goal is to be that indispensable infrastructure that stretches from the on-premise world through private cloud to sitting even on top of multi-clouds. You realize as you do build these apps now in a multi-cloud world, it's not just traditional apps, but modern apps that are built on Kubernetes. And VMware is making a big bet on Kubernetes. We acquired Heptio, we've partnered with Pivotal, we're creating PKS and Essential PKS. The whole idea is to make not just the notion of VMware as you know it, but these sort of ads that you see containerware, where in essence, the containers are really almost as important as VMs, and the same company that brought you the virtual machine can and will bring you that enterprise container platform that becomes the standard for a multi-cloud world. That's the fourth priority. And fifth, and probably one of the parts that's still close to my heart because I ran that business for a good part of my early years at VMware, is end user computing in the digital workspace. Our goal there is to allow, whether it's desktop or moving to a mobile world, for you to have a single digital workspace that allows you to work at the speed of life so you get any app on any device, whether it's Apple device, iOS or Mac, or Google device, Android or Chrome, or Windows 10 laptop of any hardware manufacturer, Dell, HP, Lenovo. And we're the only company that can bring that unified digital workspace, Workspace ONE, now to life, consolidating all these plethora of technologies, VDI, mobile management, identity management, and all of that into one unified solution. So that, my friends, is the way in which we think about our portfolio, the way I tell my story in a few minutes if I had time with the CIO. I would like every one of you, our user group professionals, to pick an area outside of what you know very well. Maybe you know us well from vSphere, but maybe you want to now become an expert in hyperconverged infrastructure, where we're now number one, or in networking with NSX, or in our multi-cloud abilities with Cloud Health, or in our hybrid cloud capabilities of VMware Cloud on AWS, or in our Kubernetes capabilities, what we're doing with Heptio and other tools, or, and of course, the digital workspace, Workspace ONE. Pick a new area, become an expert at it, and we're deeply grateful for all of the many years of our partnership. We owe so much to our user groups, and this video is a small token of my gratitude to every one of you for all that you've done for us for many years to come, in the past, and I know our partnership and friendship will last for many years to come. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started other than the video. I do apologize. I don't have a slide deck for you tonight because this work got in the way. I'm trying to find my notes here on what I'm supposed to share. Oh, there it is. All right, just a couple announcements for next month or next couple months. next month's meeting for VMUG, of course, third Wednesday of the month. We'll have IGEL here or there, and then VMware will be coming to speak on Workspace ONE. And we're going to have it at, did we confirm the location? Okay. We're going to have it at the Lucky Moose. I don't know if anybody else was at the last meeting we had there probably about a year ago or a little over a year ago. It's up on DuPont. Does everybody know where that is? Or does anybody not know where it is? Yeah. So we'll be doing it there on the 19th, I believe is the date, third Wednesday. So the Indy VMUG UserCon is July 10th, I believe. I did not put that in the notes. Then June 20th, so next week, there's a VMUG roadshow up in Detroit. If you want to head up that way. Hey, look at that. Oh, July 15th. Okay, so I was off on the date from the UserCon. And if anybody wants to get together on rides, maybe hit us up on Slack and maybe we can see what we can do. I'll probably go down the night before. So, and then VMUG recently started a new podcast for professional development. I think they've had 2 episodes now. So if you want to look into that, it'd be good. The first one was on IT burnout. What was the second one on? Do you remember, Justin? VMware certifications. Okay. I know it's on most of the podcast players. It's not on Google Play though, which is what I use, of course. So, and then we got confirmation today that we're going to get the one of the HOL labs. I guess that's kind of redundant. The HOL meetings from VMware on Kubernetes and was it Docker that was with that? So sometime between now and the end of the year, we'll have the 6-hour hands-on lab where they provide lunch and the instructors, and we just have to provide the location and the internet. So more news to come on that, but that will be coming. So hence the question we asked you earlier. So, all right. I think that's it for now. We'll have some drawings at the end. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, unless anybody has any questions or anything else to add. Okay. You're up, Ryan.
All right, can you hear me now? All right, so just so everyone know where we're at, this is a presentation I gave in November at a user conference in Indianapolis and this was a 6-hour presentation that I'm trying to squeeze into a shorter amount of time because I don't want to be here for 6 hours again. But we're going to try to do the best we can. This is the second time I've given this presentation. The first part of it, creating the image, is the part that I have worked the most on and have most information on. Deploying the image after that, the deck, I will tell you right now, is a work in progress and is still working and getting better. So if you have questions on that part, I'm going to share all the slide deck with you and a lot of files with you at the end and get you that information if you want. If you have questions, my contact information is at the end. I'm on Twitter. I will show you resources where to go, but just kind of give you a baseline of where we're at. So this is hopefully a very interactive thing. So if I am not explaining it well enough, that means or you don't understand something, it probably means I didn't explain it well. So ask questions for me and all that stuff. So first thing, that's me. That's my new headshot thanks to VMware. Some other people around here earlier were making fun of my first headshot that I've had forever. So that's the better one. So we'll go with that. Just a little bit about me. I'm a network engineer at Huntington County Community School Corporation. When I first got there 6 years ago, we had 3,000 desktop PCs and hardly any, and a lot of iPads. So now today we have about 600 PCs, 3,000, about 2,500 Macs, and another 2,500 iPads. They're looking at going away from the Macs, so this process is a continual ongoing thing. We've had to, because the Macs, the way we're doing with things, we've had to actually improve our PC imaging so we can spend more time working on the Macs because they don't have some of the features that we have with Windows side to be able to do that. So that's kind of why I had to do that. When I started this about two years ago, trying to learn all of this stuff, I had to completely revamp because the guy left that was here. He left, so I had to pick it up with no notes and just kind of to do it. I had started this process of learning how to do this several times, but always hit a wall Windows image out there with nothing else on that, I actually will talk about a PowerShell script that basically will do offline servicing on your Windows ISO to get you at least currently patched with all the Windows updates that you need to do that. Oh yeah, there we are. Cool. So back on topic now. So in section 1, basically we're going to install MDT, the ADK, all the other processes. We're going to configure some stuff in MDT and go from there. Things you're going to need to know to get things started. You're going to need some sort of building image. Again, Is there any way you can tell that it's coming through or not really? Who knows? We'll go with it and go over there. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, technical difficulties are now taken care of. Hopefully, we'll get everything going again. So getting back to things that you need. You don't need a 36 gig, 4 terabyte laptop to be able to start this process. I actually, for the class in November, I actually purposely found a inexpensive HP laptop that had, I think, 8 gigs of RAM and just a standard SSD hard drive, and was able to build an image on that. It takes a little bit longer. You can't run as many processes on there to do that, but it can get done, and the hard drive doesn't need much. So you don't need the big stuff. When but when I'm building multiple images in here, that's why I've got the processes that I've got. I'm not gonna bore you guys with how to install ADK. I've got screenshots to basically walk you through doing some of this stuff. And I'll also give you some other things. Once you get ADK installed, MDT installed, and you launch the Workbench, basically you come into a screen like that. You're going to create, right-click on the deployment share, say create new deployment share. For this example, I use Tech Build Lab, which is the conference I was at giving this presentation. It talks about some of the things that you're going to do in there. But like anything, there's also wonderful PowerShell scripts that allow you to create this and make it work a little bit easier. So I'll give you a copy of PowerShell scripts too, just to give you an example of that. I actually adjusted this one because I used the same PowerShell scripts to create the deployment share that I'm working on for this class. So it's that same sort of stuff. There are, so this was getting back to the other conversations that we started a little bit ago. If you want to do anything more than just a straight base Windows install, this is the process that Microsoft has created for us. If you don't want to make the investment into SCCM, we actually have SCCM running in our corporation, but I have not. We've got MDT running because I had MDT going before I got SCCM running. I haven't taken the time to convert my MDT process into SCCM. I have MDT working and it's working well, so I haven't done that. It's a process because as you start looking at Windows as a service and doing the upgrades, and so you don't have to image as often, moving that to SCCM is a great investment, and that's what my next process of understanding is going to be. But we also make it a process that every summer, which we're about ready to come into, we wipe and reinstall OS everywhere, especially on the few computer labs that we have left, or our class and teacher PCs. We do that everywhere. So Windows as a service, we take care of that by just putting a new build out. Where Windows as a service will be important to us are our office machines and our secondary machines where we don't really want to go through and do that. We're currently running 1709. The goal is to get to 1809 this summer and get those people that way. And that's our plan. So what I'm showing you here, I believe is only 1803, but the process works right tonight, and I'll show you 1809 stuff when we get there. When you get into DT, it can be very daunting when you do that, but in reality, it's a simple process. There's only a couple of files that you really need to adjust and do to make it work. The two key files that we want to talk about when we get in there are Bootstrap INI and Custom Settings INI. There are the locations of where they're located in the deployment share under control. But you can also get to them, and when we do a demonstration, when I go to the demo portion of it later, I'll show you how to get to those files and adjust them really quickly. I have copies, again, when I give you this, I have copies of the Custom Settings INI and the Group INI, just so you can kind of look at and see what I've done. Mine are heavily customized because I shut things off that I don't need to see, with the ultimate goal of being able to, at the endpoint, my ultimate goal, and I'm still not there yet, but there is an ultimate goal is that I want to be able to run a PowerShell command that will automate the creation of my golden image. So I'm going to do that for Windows 10, 1809, Windows Server 2016, and Windows Server 2019. My goal is to, before I leave for the evening, I'm going to kick off the PowerShell script to create those images while I'm gone overnight. Come back in the morning, have 3 freshly brand new images, and my goal is to be able to do that on a monthly basis so I can keep everything automated, or do it when I need to be able to do that. That is my point is to shut off as much of the unnecessary clicking that I don't need to do in the creation of that MVT. Because when you get in there, and that's what really I think was daunting when I first did it on my own without having any help doing it, is there's a bunch of screens that just are confusing that you can shut off that you don't need to mess with. So again, that's all controlled by the custom settings INI and the Bootstrap line. Here's an example of Bootstrap INI. When you first see it, actually the only thing that's in there is the priority default. So I can automate the process. I actually add the ability to, in my self-contained environment, this is not something you would want to do if your build environment is just a laptop on your network. Because I'm adding the domain credentials for my build environment in there and doing some stuff like that. That's not something you would want to do for your app. But if you're a self-contained environment, it makes it really simple because it's a self-contained environment, some stuff. But that does run some security credentials, but again, I'm not really worried about my password. That's why I also make my password really simple. One of the slides that we did miss, if I can go back here. So again, Johan and Michael, and I guess I don't have something. Oh, yeah. So the main controller, the MDT server, and the WhatsApp server were actually part of a hydration kit that Johan created. And you go to his website, and I actually have that website up on that website really quick. He has a hydration kit that you basically can download. And it's basically a 3D image that you load in, and it creates you a massive ISO file that you throw into either VMware or Hyper-V that will create that build environment for you and all the stuff. So you don't even have, so you can, as long as you can get MDT installed with all the requirements for MDT and the ADK, you can then download this hydration environment. He has very good notes on how to do everything. And there are other sections on his website on how to customize that even more. One of the only things that I did on my environment, because I was not wanting to interfere and I moved my stuff around so much, I wanted to make sure I had an IP range in my environment that wasn't going to interfere with where we're at. So I chose 192.168.250 as my network range. Out of the box comes out 192.168.1. Now it's going to interfere with some of the stuff. So my little suggestion to you is going to adjust your IP network range so if that's going to interfere. I want to be able to work on it at home, at work, at hotel, wherever I was working on where I had presentations. I found that 192.168.250 seems to be a network you want to use it, so it works out really well. All right, let's get back up to it. Yeah, custom settings INI is a lot more information. Bootstrap INI is basically, when we're talking about it, that's why there's not much in there. Basically, all Bootstrap INI does is when you launch the ISO that you create in the MDT, it's the connection that connects you into the MDT process that is running. So you really don't have to add much in Bootstrap INI. That's why there's not much in there. Custom settings INI is basically all of the settings that you do to adjust MDT to make it run. And as a matter of fact, you'll see in this series right here, I'm skipping a bunch of the information here because I don't want to see those screens. Those are screens that I would normally have to click on. I don't need to do it. I already know what they're going to do. I'm going to programmatically adjust some of this stuff in my environment. The backup share you've got there, you've got the backup file task sequence things. That allows me to cut up screens right there and programmatically create that information so it's always the same. So when I run that PowerShell script to create my images, it's already going to be done. And that stuff has come by scouring Twitter, watching tons of information online on how to do this. There is when we get to the end, I have a Twitter list for deployment of people that I follow that are heavy in a lot of MVPs and a lot of other people that are heavy in the operating system deployment area. There was just a huge conference up in Minnesota, MMS MOA, that basically all of the config people and operating systems deployment people went to. It was a week, and there was a ton of information right now coming out of that conference on different things and adjustments. And as a matter of fact, it's so well attended by some of those people that Microsoft actually sends engineers from the config manager team to go to this conference and sit with people, and they have what they call camp areas, where all these engineers come in and people that have issues or want suggestions or have improvements to config SCCM config manager, they come in and they work on and code it, and stuff comes out of that. The config manager pays. People were thinking the config manager was going to be dead with the advent of Intune and some of this other stuff. It was basically said config manager and Intune are almost going to be starting to become entwined at some point. Config manager is not going to die. They're putting a ton of resources of engineering into that, and it's going to get going even more. NDT is along the same path, so they're going to do that same sort of thing. So, okay. So remember the PowerShell script I was talking to you about offline servicing? That is created by a gentleman that works for a large oil entity that has machines on oil derricks out in the middle of the Gulf Ocean. And what he does is he's basically created a servicing script. You can extend the servicing script even farther by using creating other additional packages. I haven't taken them that far, but I will show you the resources that you can go and look at some of the stuff that he does. But basically, the point behind this is at least get you your build image to get you an updated image, so you don't have to worry about updating that. It is called OSDB Builder, and it's really well at doing that. Just getting an updated image, especially with as 1709 was getting to the point where the monthly updates were almost getting to be almost a gig worth of updates. If you can shrink all of that and put out an image that's updated like that, it makes life a lot easier. And it can work on Windows 10, Windows Server 2016, and 2019. It also has the ability, if you're still running Windows 7, which comes into life in January next year, he actually has the ability to do nothing more than update the Windows 7 ISO with all the updated patches that are out there. And if you've ever had to do that with DBT, I'll tell you right now that takes almost 2 hours to get all those patches. His process doesn't take as long, but it does give you the ability to do that. OSDdeploy.com/OSBuilder is where that script is at. I actually have downloaded it. I'll kind of show you how some of that works. And if you want a really good article, on how to use OSD Builder, here is an article that goes through some of the quick start guides that you're using that out there. Again, links are out there, so it's demo time. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff that I was just talking about. All right, minimize that. Just so we, come on. I'm going to do it like this. Okay, so that's osdeploy.com. That is where his name is David Segura. I believe that's how you say his last name. I haven't met any of these people online. At some point, I'm going to have to go buy several beers at a conference if I ever meet all these people, because they've saved a ton of time for me and my point. But that's not yours or there. But okay, let's cancel that for now. So when you basically launch Point Workbench, I already got it launched. This is basically what a default generic task deployment share looks like. When we were talking about custom settings INI and Bootstrap INI, if you right click on there and go to the rules settings, that's where all the rules are. Again, this is, I think, even more complicated than the one I showed you earlier, because I still have some stuff I had in here to make Windows 7 go a little bit faster when I was working on Windows 7 a long time ago. But all the settings are in there and do that. I can point you to direct documentation to explain what a lot of these switches are, but I got it set a long time ago and haven't messed with it again, but we can definitely go over it if you ever have any questions. When you go in there, one of the first things you're going to do, which we're going to talk about in the next section, is importing your operating systems. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. You can have different versions of the OS in there as well. And what we're ultimately going to get to is creating what's called a task sequence. This is a very heavily edited task sequence that I've created to make my life a little, but we're going to go through all of this at some point. So this is what we're ultimately going to get to. One of the things I want to show you right now, as a matter of fact, I can't show you too much because I still have it running, updating some of my stuff. So what you see right now is this is OSD Builder basically going through and updating some of my images on my laptop right now. The folder structure for this is very simple. It sits on my E drive. Maybe. We're going to get multiple load up here at some point. Well, it sits on your E drive and allows you to have multiple devices in there. Okay. Yeah, there's partial tests. You import the images into this folder structure and it goes from there. That is the coolest thing I've come across in a long time. Actually, I haven't needed it for more than what I've needed, or haven't needed it more, but go ahead. So my text, basically my text for troubleshooting, I've got them to the point where if they have to spend more than 5 minutes on something, they're going with it. I don't want them to spend hours on that. They've got max they have to deal with the students. They've got projectors. I've got basically 4 texts for 9 school buildings, an administration office, a learning center, our office. I just don't have time. They don't have time to troubleshoot that. So they're deploying images regularly. It's more in summer. We're doing that. But you know, if I don't want them to spend tons of time trying to dive deep into why something is not working right. 5 minutes, you can't figure it out, we're going to do that. And 90% of the time, 99% of the time, that takes care of the problem. Especially in our lab environments where students have got, even though they're not administrators on there, who knows what they may have done, what could be done. We've gotten rid of CD-ROM drives, we've got rid of all of the big parts that students like to do that. I figure out how to buy a computer that only has 2 USB ports and a network drop in the back of it. I wouldn't do that. If there's anything that they can shove something into it, they will. I don't know why. But students are our future. But I digress. And I like having a fresh version of the image when I throw that in there. Sometimes I'm just playing with stuff. So when I got ready to move from 1709 in my development cycle to move to 1809, that process for me, because of some of the things that I wanted to adjust from what we were doing in 1709 to 1809, that tweaking process took almost a week and a half of what free time I had to be able to do that. So I was building images regularly and just testing and doing it. That's why it was nice to have it on my laptop. Whenever I had a few extra minutes, I would go and create something. We'll talk about some of those ability, how I did some of that stuff, and how I did some of the troubleshooting as we go on further. But just having updated images and be able to do that, and it's always nice just to have an updated image because sometimes I just want to play with something and I want to see how the default comes out. So if you don't need to, it's just nice to have the ability. So I'm testing, because this was new and I'm playing with it too, I'm updating it regularly. I probably don't need to create my new image regularly as often. It's just something I'm playing with too. So I know people that they only update their images every 6 months because they know, because cumulative updates are out there now, so to the point, they don't care if it takes an extra, 30 minutes to download whatever the new update is. The only other addition to that is Microsoft has changed their patching a little bit to now include service updates. If you're messing with that, it used to be you just have to put cumulative update on, like cumulative update on it to the machine and it would work. Now you have to, which in theory back then worked great. Now you have these 2 updates. Usually you have to do the servicing update first, and then you have to do the cumulative update. Because the servicing update adds all the ability to take care under the hood stuff that allows the service update, the cumulative updates work. So that's a new thing that it wasn't very well documented when they started doing it, but it's now become, especially in 1809 and when 1903 gets up here, cumulative updates and service segment updates. Those are the two main updates that you're going to be looking for. And he's written the scripts and the points, so he puts them in proper order. Because I used to have to, winning DT to make that process a little bit better, a little bit easier for myself. I used to have to do some other hoop jumping to make that work. I don't even bother with that anymore. I can show you some of that as well. So, all right, let's go. All right, so this is what I would consider probably the hardest part of getting MPT to work. Getting the operating system in there and getting it to be able to move and run through that process is relatively easy. Making the OS the way you want it, that's where I spend all of my time. This is what took me a week and a half when I went from 79 to 1809. I wanted to get into it. Install August 2016. As a matter of fact, what took me a little bit longer in that week and a half, I also, because we're an educational institution, we can install Office 365 Pro Plus and make it machine-based activation, so we don't have to do it with users. So I'll guarantee you that was 2 days of me trying to figure out how to do that. And there's some special keys that educational institutions have the ability to do. There is another thing that I looked at that might some of you be able to use. There's a device shared activation. Shared activation. I can point you in some directions on that. Yeah, and then doing it in I can probably take that same process and put it in an empty image. Having that in your image so you don't have to push out, having people learn how to download it and install it is a lot easier. The updating process on that is really kind of interesting as well. If you want to do the tiered, or I just say everybody's semi-annual channel. I make it where it's not channel. I don't need updates that often. They're updating that thing monthly. They don't need that updates that much. Because then that's more support phone calls I have to deal with. I don't want to deal with that.
And that one company wanted to try to bring back.
Yeah, and you really, I run in the monthly channel.
I don't know, I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I run the monthly channel so I can see what's coming up, so I know what I'm at. But most of my users are, and if it affects Word, Excel, or Outlook, I take note. PowerPoint, I don't really, hopefully there's not enough in there that's going to be a problem. I add the Visual C++ one time to every image that I build because every application that seems that I need to install or something always needs them, so why not just have them there to begin with. I have some other apps that I throw in there as well. Customizing and tweaking the OS when we get there, I'll talk about some of that. I'm old and set my ways, and I want things to look the way I want it when I get there. So I don't like some of the decisions Microsoft makes, so I figure out ways to make it. That stupid people icon on 1803 and 1809 that's down on the tray. That's the first thing I figured out. Shut off. I do it at my age. So I'll show you how to do that. I also changed the background. I don't think you can see it on my laptop at some point. We put a custom background and custom lock screen on all our computers so they know that they are corporate IT devices, not the personal devices that they all think that MacBooks are, and they don't think that they have to worry about it. I want them to know that they are our devices, so at least when they log in, they realize that it's our stuff. They can change it if you want them to. You want to pass it down, but I want all that background stuff. And the way I change the background is very destructive. I basically overwrite all of the default backgrounds and make my background. And it works. It's not really easy way of doing it. So I just overwrite everything. But that will not survive a feature upgrade from 1709 to 1809. It overwrites those. So that's why at some point when I get to SCM to do my 79 and 89 feature upgrades, I'll add a process back in to go ahead and put that all back there. I changed the layout, especially in versions of Windows prior to 1903. Microsoft thought it was very important, even on the educational view of the device, to make sure you normally have Candy Crush and and some other stuff on there that I don't want my users to see. So I rearrange the icons on the start menu because it's amazing. If it's not when they click the button, if it's not right there, they don't think it's installed. I don't know if it's your users or not. I don't care. I can hit the start menu, start typing, and find it faster. But that's like foreign concept for my. I don't have time to train. I want to train my people. They don't want the time to take it. So I know what most of the apps that my people use. I create a custom start layout on that and go ahead.
Do you know if there's a way to remove those or actually prevent them from side loading down a new user without disabling the marketplace?
Remove built-in apps. I was just getting there. There is a script that is written by SCCM. I'll have to tell you exactly where it's at. I think it's in my notes somewhere that it goes through, and you can say what apps you want to keep in there and what apps you want to get rid of. That's a life saving script, and I use. Is it the debugger script? What? The debugger? No, it's another script that I found it works really well. We can pull it up and kind of look at it, but you can whitelist certain applications in there. As a matter of fact, I whitelisted an app now that I'm thinking about taking out. There's one I just want to get rid of. I thought it was better than what it was, but it's not. But again, there's things like that. The nice thing is, if you want to do something to Windows at this point, unless you're working on the cutting edge of like 1903 and they change stuff, there are people already out there to figure out how to do it. It's just either getting on Twitter and asking other people how to do that and then pointing in the right direction, or following these people, or just asking other people to do it. And that's kind of where I've got. So the tweaks and stuff that I have right here are stuff like that. I also, one of the biggest things that I learned when creating images, which was a relatively new thing that I found when I was working on the class in November, was when you're building your image and Windows comes out by default, it uses a balanced power plan, which is great for energy consumption, but it's not great when you're building an image and it takes longer. So I actually go in and tweak the power plan when I'm creating my images to make them to be the power user performance, yeah. And it actually sped up my image creation by almost 10 minutes. But I'm like, I'll take 10 minutes wherever I can get it. Also, when I'm deploying my images, I deploy because WinPE, which is part of what you use to do that deployment, it also uses the balance. I make that performance as well. Sped up my image deployment as well. So that's a little trick. I also do some, I spent 3 days kicking myself when I knew what the answer was, but I forgot. I thought I had done something that I didn't. When you're creating an image, you don't want Windows updates, not Windows updates, Windows Store updates to kick off while you're building your image, because you will get an error and you will not create your image. Sysprep does not like that. It does if they all get done, but I sped up my image creation to the point where I guarantee you they ain't gonna get done. So there's a script out there that allows you to stop stop the store updates. Also, if you're going to go in and remove them, you don't really need to update them. So I stop the Windows Store updates and I reactivate them after my image is created. So I got scripts and I can point you to those locations. But yeah, it took me 2 days of hitting my head against the wall until I finally dug into the log files to see what the error code was, and then I Google searched what that error code was, and then I just went and smacked my head against the wall because I knew what the answer was. It wasn't clicking, but that was the problem. But we'll go there. So let's start talking about. Again, you're going to need the software you're going to install, all that stuff. Office installation. You guys still using mostly Office? Is that or 365? I've got notes in here for both Office 2016 and Office 365. Again, this was meant for an educational aid, so a lot of it points to the Office device activation, but there's still some good information in there. There's a script that I use that will work even for the other types of Office environments also. I'll point you to that when we get there. Again, I was working with an audience, so I've got slides on how to go ahead and install an application. So let's talk about that. You're going to have to install an application. This is basically a walkthrough of adding an application into MVT. It's really simple. I want to point out that I have an install labeled as the name of my application. That'll become very helpful when we get later, because I'll, in my applications folder, all of the tweaks that I do to that, I label those as tweaks. So I try to keep everything organized in my application folder and keep it unwieldy really quick. So if it's an application install, I'll label install. If it's tweak, I'll label it tweak. If it's just an operation I want to do or an action I want to do, I'll even label those as well. So that's just a way of organizing that, because at one point, in my first iteration of MPT, it was Jack and Dax. So I'm doing things to help. I try to be as organized as I can, but I know I can't be. So whatever I can organize, I want to organize, because I get to the point where I need to do that, or I get lost. And again, at the end of everything, it's very important, it's helpful too. At the end of every application install, and most of the MPT things, just like other things, there's a view scripts option there. So once you figure out if you've got a bunch of applications you need to install, open that view script idea, pop it into a notepad, and if you have a bunch of things, start doing that, and then you just install it with PowerShell and make it like a lot easier. I have no idea what Van Holtz and audio is sitting down here too. Oh, if you're deploying Office 2016, I have again ran across another script by the same gentleman that wrote the OSD deploy. He has another PowerShell module called OSD update. It allows you to download all of the Office 2016 or 2013 or 2010 Office updates and get a full list of what's current for that particular month. And then there was another script that started, that fell off of this by this gentleman, which I don't remember his exact name. I believe it's Sue from the UK. He has wrote a script that basically looks at the folder that the OSD module, update module created, and installs all those updates. In a deployment sense, that's a lot faster than having the SUS download all those updates, because I already have them downloaded, one, and two, it's faster than putting the updates in the update folder that you just created. It actually is faster than doing that if you can just run the PowerShell scripts and install those through this gentleman. So I've got 2 links to those locations, and I can kind of show you a little bit of how that works as well. That PowerShell script is actually a nice script as well. In SCCM, I was having some computers that were not keeping up to date as well on their Office. So I ended up just creating a script action in SCCM that basically pointed to this PowerShell script to update Office, and it would update Office on all my machines a lot faster too. And then all of a sudden my patch process was all of a sudden getting a lot faster. So it's just another way of making sure you have all updated. And yeah, I was out from doing proofing tools, the languaging tools, and all that stuff too. So it has a lot of stuff in there. Office 365. The script's a little old. That was a work in progress. I've actually got it now working. But I basically followed the article that was here, and even though it was written in 2017, it's still got a lot of good parts in there. That was another article I read too, getting on that stuff. C++ runtimes, again, I put those in my image because it seems like every application at some point needs something or some variant of it. And instead of having it install, I just make sure that it just speeds up my application install time. There is a wrapper file, a C++ install wrapper file that I use that just makes my life a lot easier doing that. As a matter of fact, there's also a PowerShell script that will download the latest Visual Studio C++ but it's helpful. For those that don't know, there was a Visual C++ runtime for 2015. I was superseded by 2017, and they don't work well with each other if they're on the same sheet. So that's why I try to keep all of them. But you need for 2012, 10, 12, 13, and 17 to have a fully patched C++ runtimes on machines. And I installed both the x86 and the x64 versions of them because, sure enough, one too many it just, and they're not that big and it works out well. Other applications that I install personally in my applications, I like having the system control tools on the machine if I'm doing some troubleshooting. So that makes my 5 minutes that I give myself to work on the machine a little bit faster because I can pull those suckers out and diagnose a problem pretty quick. And I just like having them on there if I need to be able to do that. Other individual line of business apps that I'm going to do. It's not so much in an educational environment, but maybe you have departments that have specific applications. So you can create images with your individual departments and have task sequences for those individual departments to make your life a little bit easier. So if you get those line of business apps, I will spend days trying to figure out how to automate the installation of those, because once I get it automated, I can put it in here and my life is so much easier. And there are some very interesting tutorials out there on how to do that. And I can point you in those if you want. For some reason, although I'm hopeful that I won't have to add the IE shortcut at some point with the new version of Edge that's coming out that has the Chrome agent in it at some point. I picked up a nickname for it that I've heard someone else use. They call it Credge, which I don't think is hilarious, but that's my nickname for that new version of Edge at some point is Credge. I'm hoping after I get that fully vetted on the systems, I can stop putting an IE shortcut, but for some reason IE needs to be, I still have users that want to use IE. I have no idea why. I put Google Chrome out there, I put Firefox out there as well, and they all think they need to have it. Internet Explorer. Or you've got this. So, and for some reason, it doesn't want to have, they're trying to hide Internet Explorer as well. But if you need it, you almost have to install the Internet Explorer icon to be able to get it, it. So I have an application on that. When you port the operating system, because I have so many different variations of operating systems, I keep them very organized in here, because then when you later get in here, you're going to, I guess I'll start with that. I just keep them organized. So all my Windows 7 images are in one folder, Windows 10. Windows 10 folders actually get to the point where I'm probably going to go even inside of the Windows 10 folder, 79, 1809, all that stuff. I'm going to get that just because it's starting to get big. Server 2012, R2, 2016, 2019. I keep them organized just to make my life easier, so I don't have to sort through and try to find them. Basically, I mount the image to import the file in there, tell it where I'm going to import it to, and then just run through the, basically going through and pulling it in. As a note, this destination directory name, you're never going to see that, but you want to keep that as short as possible, because there is still a limit of how long your directory paths are in NDT. So you want to keep that short. You don't want to get really long verbose on that folder name, because no one cares about it. So keep it short. Having RAM at one point, I could figure out, that was a fun log out file to try to go through and try to fix. Why is my image not being put on the machine? Get the link on it. Didn't know. That took forever, and lots of people to try to figure that out. It imports, yada yada. Again, also, the script at the end of it, it allows you to go in and see some of that stuff. Once you import the ISO that you down from either SDN or Volume License Service Center, it gives you several options in your folder. I don't care about Enterprise N. I don't care about Education N, or the K versions of all that stuff. So as soon as that gets all put in there, I'm going to delete those extra ones that I don't need. Keep what you need and get rid of what you don't need. There's no reason to have it in there. That's right there. Remember when I was talking about this slide was based before I found the OSD builder and do that. So if you don't want to use that PowerShell module, or for some other reason, if you want to put the service and stack update and latest cumulative update, this kind of walks you through adding those files in there, so you don't have to download them. That's more in there for historical purposes now. It's not something I'm probably doing. But it's some great little information to have in there, and kind of walks you through some of this as well. Talk about the selection profile and do that. Yeah. So there's a lot of steps that you got to jump through to be able to do that. Again, something that I can do with PowerShell script now. I'm just making my own. Customizing and tweaking. Some of the backgrounds and some of the images. Background treatment. Background treatment was done off of the website right here. That gentleman is probably will be an OSD MVP at some point in the future. He had a lot of presentations coming out of the MLS MOA. He works, he doesn't say where he works, but on his badges, he says he works for a big bank. I believe he works for Wells Fargo and part of the operation team for all of Wells Fargo. So he's got a lot of experience pushing out images a lot. So this is the way they're doing that. But basically, there's a method, and the only method that seems to be the most consistent is basically overriding the default images in there with your custom image, and he walks through that process based on that error.
Can you make individual changes to the group policy?
So you can adjust the group policy, and it's the first way I did that, but if you adjust the group policy on that, then one can change the background. By just overriding the images that are there, if Donna, the secretary, wants to have a picture of her niece on her desktop, this way she still can. With the group policy method, they can't. So it depends on how big of a jerk you want to be. Yeah. Some people say screw them, some people are trying to be nice. There are some battles I pick, try to win, there's other battles I don't. Some people don't know that you can change that image because when they see that big image back there, the corporate logo, they don't touch it. They don't know how it got there. That's not what they have at home, so they don't mess with it. Other people know how to go and change that. It's interesting, I walk around and see that. They haven't figured out how to adjust the lock screen yet, thankfully. Although it can be adjusted, because the way I do it, you can still adjust it. They haven't figured that one out, so at least there's that. But the backgrounds, there are certain people. It seems to be the secretaries that have nieces and that are grandchildren. Those seem to be the ones that can change right away. I don't know. And as a matter of fact, I was testing an image, and my secretary put me at the initial line. She couldn't change her background, so we don't make her unhappy. So we did it.
You can put it from home group.
If you want to do that, we can go ahead, man. So again, lock screens. There's partial script to do that. I guess I didn't have time to do that, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Moving the building apps. The Point Research has something, but where I got the main information in the script I currently use is based off this SCC.configmanager.com. That is an older version for 1803. They have updated it for 1809, so that is the version of 1809. Each iteration, Microsoft, or each feature release, Microsoft has basically been nicer in allowing us to move more and more with an app without having a problem. So each version comes with a newer version of the script, and they adjusted it and giving me more. This seems to be, I know there are some other scripts out there. This is the one that I found because of some of the interviews on Twitter that I follow. This is very useful, and I am not having problems with this. And basically, there's a script folder. I just copied it and call it, which really well. Fantastic. Oh, I know what that. This is just basically walking through creating a task sequence. The task sequence ID has to be unique. You'll notice that I have at the very end, I do 001. When I'm creating task sequences, especially if I'm just messing with something, I'll add increments of that because the final task sequence may not be the first one that I create. I think my production 1803 task sequence, 1809 task sequence that I put out there was actually the fourth variant that I had because I kept having more things. I also recreated the task sequence because I didn't stop the store updates. I created 2 task sequences just to make sure I hadn't screwed something up. Then I really felt bad when I took myself on that one. But I also add task sequence comments. When you're doing, when we get to the deployment side of the house, those task sequence comments are actually seen on the screen when your technicians are deploying the image. So sometimes that's very helpful on those as well. Just standard task sequence, choose your OS. You can choose your OS here. So, but you don't have to stick with this OS because you can go on the task sequence adjust. It's just an easy way of doing that. I do not specify a route key because I have a Canvas server. Hopefully you all have Canvas servers working in your if not, you have to put in that, or you can actually assign power shares. You can use the SLM and SL. You can do that later. I would not put a stereo key in this at all, because it's hard coded in there. So I would rather do that manually some other point than put it hard coded in on that sequence, just to make my life easier. Because if that key were to change, you have to recreate that sequence again. You much easier to run with just a script at that point. Canvas keys, the image that I use when you download from Volume License Service Center already has a canvas key built into it. So that is the default key that comes off of those. If not, you can use SNG manager to adjust that as well. I sometimes even hesitate to do that because, again, it's all hard-coded. The other important thing in here is I do not set the local administrator password in the imaging process because I want the ability to change it later. I set that via script later. Because if something were to happen or if something were to get done, an incident, I want to be able to change that password and I won't have to go and find the hard code place where you can't do that.
Well, again, it's even clear, isn't it?
What?
It's not sort of clear.
It's not sort of clear. You can't find it. I store it in my task sequence variable on my, I set it in the custom settings INI folder. Custom settings INI, I put that in the clear, but that's only on my build machine, so they would have to get into my V and start up my hypervisor to do that. So there's that as well. Summary, negative test sequence. Remember we were talking about adjusting power plan. This is an important part right here. Adjusting the power performance. It's basically the command, the power CFG command, and that long width that took me a while to figure out. But you pop that in there, that puts in the performance mode. That screen's up there for your thing. There's the width itself. If you have another custom power plan in there, you can also use that same command in your test sequence to adjust things as you go. I also referenced the blog where I found that and explained why it's important to do that in the test sequence, just for information. There's a lot of extra reading that I've already read for you, so just take some of my stuff. Sometimes it's nice to know. This is related to applying a patch for Windows updates that I no longer need to, but it's in a steps. If you want to know how to do that, enabling RDP gives you an easy way to go and turn RDP on. I actually don't need to do this online because I have the policy turned on to do that for those that need it in my environment. But I have it up there because it's asked for it. Sorry for it. There we go. Another interesting thing, very important in the Windows 7 timeframe, not so much needed in the Windows 10 timeframe if you're doing Windows servicing, offline servicing. The cleanup before sysprop. Back in Windows 7 days, because you had so many updates on, you were putting on the computer, that WSX folder in Windows 7 would just balloon. So there were some scripts created to basically go in and clean that up and get that shrunk. When I was creating Windows 7 images on a regular basis before I run this, it actually shrank my image that I would deploy over the wire by 2 days. So it hasn't shrunk my Windows 10 images because I'm doing the offline servicing and I don't need to do as much. I still have it on there. I can't remember what image if I even have it turned on or I turned it off. So I was supposed to do some other stuff. So, but there, I put it in there and have the ability to turn that section. The reason it's in the folder right there is because on that folder, under options, I can go and turn it on and off. And that whole process of shooting is some of that. And I was doing some like filtering. Let's go to the demos and kind of talk about some of this stuff here. Oh, that's good. So I think the best way to actually talk about task sequences and stuff like that is actually get in here and look at some of them and talk about what we're doing. So a lot of those tweaks that I was talking about are actually in my applications folder. So I'm configuring different desktops, my start menu. I actually have a configure build time. So I know when I create my image. When I was going through the process of creating images, I would go to a computer and not know all of that image was. So I just made myself use it when I build the image. I actually put a file in a specific folder that I know where to go look at. I can tell that image is not. So what happened is I'll have technicians and say they image the building, and then I'll go back later in the year trying to troubleshoot a problem. I go to our computer and say, this computer, I can tell this computer hasn't been imaged because it's 2 summers images ago. It just gives me the ability to know what's going on, and it allows me just to know where things are at when I'm looking through there. Applications, tweaks, all of this stuff is in here. I've contemplated taking all of my individual tweaks that I have in here and converting them into a PowerShell script, but for troubleshooting purposes at this point, I'm weighed back and forth because troubleshooting wise, I can go in and disable an application at some point. There's pros and cons to both. I just haven't made the switch because I on PowerShell script process of doing that. Got that after I already started my 3D process with applications. I just haven't made the switch, but there, I think I even in the folder that I will share with you guys on GitHub has a sample of how to put all of those tweaks in one PowerShell script. The PowerShell script that I was going to base it off of also goes and shuts off some of the Xbox scheduled tasks as well. So there is some nice and straight gold in there, some of that as well. But let's go in and kind of look at a task sequence really quick. Oops, wrong thing. So this is my 1809 task sequence that took me a couple of weeks to build. One of the weird things about MDT is sometimes the icons go away. I use folders because on some of my things, especially like this, so if I'm building a new, so like when I get ready to build 1903 task sequence, I'm lazy at some point. And if you're building a task sequence on the same box, so when I'll open my 1809 task sequence up and my new 1903 task sequence, and because I have this in a folder, I can right click on this, copy it, and copy it into my 1903 task sequence as a base to get started. And I'll do that regularly, of having them open beside each other just to make sure I'm doing the same things over and over again. This process I build, and then I'll start my tweaking from there. So basically my 1903 task sequence, when I get access to that media and start working on it, it's going to look exactly like my 1809 task sequence, and then I'll start adjusting and troubleshooting from there. But that's what my first build process is. You can't tell it in here for right now because my icons are not working, so I'm going to open this back up so hopefully you can see what's going on here. There we go. A green, solid green check mark like this, it means it's active. The light green or the muted green means it's deactivated. So for tonight's class, I wanted to build an image that had Office 2016 in it instead of the Office 365 version, Pro Plus version. So I went and disabled that. You also see the suspend action in here. One of the things I do when I'm troubleshooting is I'll throw a suspend action in the task sequence when I'm doing it as a troubleshooting mechanism. So what happens is it'll suspend that task sequence at that point, and because it's a VM, I just go into the VM and then open up the log files and see exactly and make sure it's doing everything I think it's going to do before I get out of it. That was very helpful. Also, when I'm doing the tweaking of some of the registry settings, because you have to load it. You have to load the default registry hive in and make sure all those tweaks get done, and then unload that default registry hive. And it's a lot easier to be able to go and look at the registry hive when it's still loaded up and it's making sure you're getting your settings changed. So I use that suspend process a lot when I'm creating that. There is no default suspend process when you look in the right-click actions of creating task sequence options. So to create a new task sequence option in here, you have all these in here. For some reason, and it still to this day is not in here, they do not have the suspend task sequence option in here, but it is a script that is in the MDD folders. I don't know why they haven't added it on there, but it's that is the task sequence suspend. Suspend action in there, you get to that point, you go and install that application. And resume task sequence that goes on. I had to do that with one of my packages for AutoCAD because I had to figure out how to get it to work and register with the AutoCAD licensing server. It's a giant pain in the butt, but by throwing a suspend task sequence in there, I was able to install AutoCAD, go through, make sure that we're looking at the key server, and then resume that task sequence. That's also an image that I don't think but we use it. Our classes have to use that. So task sequences, these are like my little babies. So each person's is going to be different and you're going to do things differently. But once you get one going, I'm very proud of my task sequence. So I like showing it off too. So if you guys have questions, I'll definitely talk about it. Remember I was talking about enabling and disabling the store icons, store updates. There's how you do that. I actually referenced that in an article earlier, but we'll go through that. Let me see. Oh, it's still creating my WIM. This is that task sequence right now running in the background. Because I'm got so many other processes going, it's actually taking a little bit longer to build. This is also why you build it in the evening and just go from there. Why am I signed out? Am I still streaming? Okay. All right. All right. I need to take a drink, guys. We're going to take a quick break so I can get some more water. My throat's about ready to kill me.
And there's more food back there. Yeah, it's like, but people are doing the little later, so. Yes. Are you? Blame yes, that's what. How can you have a podium that doesn't have a flat surface going on this drink? It's all slanted. Yes, you don't. It kind of acts the same way as Aliases. The only secret to that is if you already need it. So it's got a driver in the media. makes that work. At least that's how it worked on Dell's true.
So we have our balance.
Okay, so you get the audio media from them? Buy the audio media from them.
I was going to download, I didn't see it. That's the one. Maybe it's lost the power.
I think it's
Oh, so it's all about fraction.
okay, so I adjust that from my. So where do you get your media from?
Oh, wow. It's
So how do you install the OS?
Oh, I just have like.
Okay, so maybe they adjusted how it works now. So maybe during the install process that drivers get installed. Maybe they change how it works. But I know that's how it works. There was no OEM media that
Oh, you can turn on. Oh, it's not actually. I wasn't sure because I didn't have a camera, so I'm saying
to me, that's something that I've always been saying. One, play around with. This one, I'm using education sphere. So the only thing we have to work about is, and now we get I'm talking about how many times you can install it.
Yeah.
So the license is based on. So as long as you use Pro to do that. But that would be a question that you should be able to ask them. Why you should be able to answer.
So getting back, there's only 47 machines that we have. You don't know what's your like buy start. I know I can't. I know you can't buy it, but
something so you have the organization and find the machine you can or maybe Microsoft. Here's our product cheaper.
yeah. Super slick. So, you know, download and you create a provisioning package that has the whole UI and also like UI every setting. Programs will install blah blah blah. You export that to provisioning package. You stick it in your user and when you're sitting on the laptop, there's another screen. Just plug it in. We're
local version of Autopilot.
I only just produced it on Autopilot.
I'm sorry, looking at Autopilot. See, we were looking at yeah, Autopilot seems to be maxed out.
So it's not
Yeah. Seems like it's
everything.
that you put the device information up and it's always private here. Hold on for configuration.
There's a new Microsoft. I just found that whole selling from Microsoft. Yeah. Do we?
So we work on it.
Or something like that.
Okay. Let's work working on these. All right. It's not everywhere.
installing 2 out of 10 programs. But that sounds like it'd be a great one. I'll propose it, but it's right now. So that's something I really want it to work. That's a nice thing. It's simple. I have. I think if you look at he's got some portion of that. He basically creates something. Shares out with parents who may have to upgrade. They plug in, put off that, and does all I haven't asked you what I stand. These guys are saying you guys if you really have some of the stuff it's a bunch basically the companies is how it's I'm trying to figure out I tried to go this year on iPad, but I lost it. All right, let's see if we get back on the spot. Okay, guys. Hopefully, we'll get back and get things going. Hope everyone got some food. The last bits of the food looks like there's still some chips and salsa back there, maybe. How do we do, Jones? Do we go pretty good on getting that food taken care of? Yeah. Good job. This slide was put in here because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to everything, but this is very helpful for some of you who are getting started on here. All right. Okay, now, can you hear me now? Okay. So this slide is very important if you want to learn how to do stuff. Johan's website is Point Research. He every now and then, just if you're brand new and don't know how to do anything like that, he every now and then creates how to create reference images with MDT. So this is step by step. So if you don't get anything from this and you don't understand what I'm doing or doing that, go to this website and he'll give you a step by step on how to do everything that I kind of go through. And at least we'll get you a base image you'll start pushing out. And that's where I started, and then I started growing from there. But he's got 1809, 1709, Windows Server 2016, and if you really want to still work on Windows 7 SB1, telling you how to put that in Windows MDT. That is a great starting spot if you just want a nice handheld walking through getting everything started to work. Again, this is where I started, this is what the base was, and now all my task sequences went crazy from here. This will at least give you a nice base custom task sequence to get started from and start playing. Okay, so you've got your task sequences created. You've got your applications all in there in the task sequences. You're ready to go. Now you're ready to the point where you're ready to start kicking off that task sequence to see if you can actually build it. There's still some minor configurations that you need to do before you're ready to actually do that first capture. Again, that's going into, you have to configure WinPE because WinPE is the engine that drives everything, that capture, process, and lay down the images. So on your deployment workbench, in your environment you created, you're going to go to properties, and general was the original part. Rules are where we messed with control settings INI and bootstrap INI. Third tab across here is the WinPE tab. Gives you the ability to do x86 and x64.
shut x86 off. I don't care about x86. I'm doing everything 64-bit. But if you want to do that, you go in here and create your ISOs, do all what you want to create your ISO. If you want to change the background, I don't on my build and capture things. On the deployment though, I can change the background on that so it's more customized for us. There's a couple of tabs in there. Drivers and patches. You don't really need drivers and patches if you're doing it on a VM, because you don't really need a driver for that. When you get to the deployment side of the house, that becomes a lot more important, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But again, the same thing for x64. I make them look the same. This drop down right here is where you drop it down from x86 and x64. I go ahead and set that information even though I don't need to do that, because sure enough, at one point, I'm going to get handed a weird old laptop that needs something, and I may need an x86 at some point. So I'll go ahead and fill it out. At least it's all there. Once you get everything set up and configured the way you want to, you have to update the deployment share, which is right-clicking on the deployment share and saying update deployment share. What that does is basically sets up a PowerShell script that goes through and creates the boot image that you're going to use for something that you do that. Words of advice from the facts. If you adjust custom settings INI, Bootstrap INI, or you adjust some of those WinPE settings, you have to go back and update the deployment share again to recreate that WinPE. Or you'll sit in a loop like I did for a couple of days, say you're adjusting a custom setting INI function, go in and you reboot it back up and it's not doing it, and you're, oh yeah, I forgot to update the deployment share. Bit from my mistakes, I'm telling you right now. But you never forget to update the deployment share if you do that. So. Very important if you're doing a VM, don't use just one processor on your build image. If you have the horsepower, use at least two, if not more. It does, that second processor really does speed up the process. I use 4 gigs of RAM. I think the reason one of my going right now is going so slow is because I only get 2 gigs of RAM. I don't remember. In the deployment share under the boot folder, we'll go there. That INI, the ISO file that you created when you updated the deployment share, that's where you'll find that boot image. You'll copy that to your wherever your VM is going to be looking at as a boot media. You're booting with that, and it'll work really well. So remember that process I was telling you about, being able to run a PowerShell script that will do all your images for you? That is called image factory. That is something that I have got on my task sequence of things to learn how to do. I just haven't got all there yet. It is an automated process written by Michael Lashstrom, one of the guys that I talked about at the beginning. He's basically wrote a bunch of PowerShell scripts that can go in and interact with the config manager and make every, basically, any task sequence you have in there that you have active, will go in and create those things. I haven't needed to do that yet because I don't have that many task sequences. But if you have different task sequences for different departments in your organization, I would point you to that. And if you get it working, please let me know because I want to see it work. I want to see this thing work. I just haven't spent the time to do it because I haven't had need. Because I only have 2 task sequences that I usually do, my AutoCAD and my base image. But if I ever had multiple, I know where to go. So I'm giving you this as an option just so you have that information. Maybe at some point I'll get it working and I'll show you guys too. Okay, let's go back. So again, go into the properties, WinPE settings. Again, I have x86 and x64. That's the drop down. Don't worry about the driver images as much. That the other tab that I didn't talk about, if you start doing some other fancy stuff, like you're going to extend some of this stuff, you can go in and turn additional features on in here, especially if you need the secure boot. If some of that stuff gets in here, I haven't had to deal with that yet. Some of those features are available adding to your WinPE image if you need to do that. Again, I don't really do much in here other than the base stuff like that. And then again, right-clicking here,
after you get all that set, whoops, updating appointment share brings the ability to do that, and this is where you optimize it, and it does take some time to go through and boot because you're basically creating an image before you do that. That image again, come on, goes to a folder and boot. And that ISO file is what you'll use to create your kick off your imaging process. And let's see where we're at. Oh, it's finished. So what that process, so after you set up your custom INI settings, you set up your Bootstrap INI settings, you got everything ready to go. Give me 1 second, I want to make this. What? Go ahead. It does. I was hoping no one would pay attention to the fact that I was doing that. I will tell you that I started this process before I became a VMUG leader, and I have not switched it over to VMware. This process does work in Workstation, and it does work in Hyper-V. There are scripts for the image factory as well, both ways. It's just, go ahead, sir. Probably. I could do that on my workstation. I could, but I just haven't. I had it working. Thanks. You're going to make me do that now. It's not like I don't have a free license for a workstation too. I know. That was going to be the next. I can't believe you didn't say that too. Thanks, man.
Two licenses, that's right, I have two of them.
All right. All right. Next time I'll have it for that. All right. Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. It's about, I'm not even going to do that. All right. So, I know what I'll do. Yeah, I could do that. No, it doesn't. I want to show you what that image looked like. Start. So if everything works correctly, and all your custom INI settings, your root INI settings work, and you get that root image updated, you'll start your Windows P environment, and it should come up. That's the default web page. Default background, I should say. It should come up and give you the option to choose your task sequence here. Assuming I haven't broke something. And all the changes that I'm messing around with. And I'll tell you right now that if you've ever played with the default or started messing with that and haven't configured, adjusted some of your stuff, that being the first screen you see is not normal. Usually you see a bunch of other screens that you have to click through. So basically to start my build process, I select my task sequence that I'm going to build. I validate this, even though I've already got this site, I can actually shut this screen off if I wanted to. And I've started my imaging process. So I have to see two screens. If you started and messed with it and see it ever all in the past, there's a lot more screens than that you have to mess with. I shut all of them off. There's a lot. Yes, sir.
So this is just basically
And I'm not pixie booting. No, I'm booting the ISO. So I booted the ISO. Yeah. Preparing it. I'm getting the image started. This is building that task sequence where I'm doing all my tweaks and everything else. So this is going to boot in, lay down a virgin copy of Windows 10, and then go through and adjust it to where I want it. So install 2016. So get rid of that stupid icon. So tweak the background and make it the background that I want. It's going to do all the stuff that I want to do. So that is the process that we just went through. Very long-winded, hour or half a clock that I just went through, or however long it was. That's what this is going to go through and do. And I'm not going to let it go all the way through because it takes forever. But when it's done, it's going to go through, do all that stuff. If you have a suspend process in there at some point, it'll suspend and come up and show you the suspend process. It's going to go through and do all that stuff. When it's done, it's just going to shut itself down. You're going to end up with an image. So that process is going to go through. And what you will see and what you'll get at the end is you'll end up with a win. So that is my fully patched, as of today, Windows environment with Office 2016 on it. All my tweaks are ready to go. The other nice thing that you can do is that and it's sysprepped, ready to go. So you can then load that WIM in and do that. So one of the things that I do after I'm doing that as part of my testing is then I go ahead and it shuts it down. I create some checkpoints so I can go back and snapshots and I do that. I'll also then boot this bad boy up and just see if all of my stuff is coming out the way I want it to. So when this boots up, this should be the image. Should be. See if it boots up. There we go. I think I got like 6 different things going on right now. So maybe taxing my system a little bit. This should be the fully patched image that I'm done. So we can look and see if everything worked out right and make sure everything's fine. So that's the process now. You probably have questions. You may not know what questions you have, but we'll get, that's just some other things you can look at. So we'll come back to that. Slide 61, only 30 more slides to go. All right, let's go. All right. So you captured your image, you got the image the way you want to do it. Now we're going to start going through the process of then how do you take that captured custom image and how do you push it out to the rest of the development or your organization. You're going to do some of the same things that you did before. The build and capture deployment share that you have in your environment. Don't also use that to deploy your images. Create another deployment share in your MDT workbench or on another server. Have it be for deploying your images because you're going to do different things in the custom setting INI and the boot INI in that particular thing, in that particular deployment share that you would in your build capture. So I have, as a matter of fact, I have looks completely different. And I like home deploy and build capture. So it's all how you want to do it. You're going to do some of the same exact things that you did when you created your class share. That you're going to go in, you're going to name it, you're going to adjust your boot settings and custom INIs. But they do look different. You're still shutting some screens off. Really nice having a screen. See, I have never had that. I just realized that I could look and see what you guys are saying. Little things. Squirrel, yeah. One of the weird things you're going to do, though, instead of importing the operating system like we did in the original build capture section, we're actually now going to import the WIM. So it's going to be a different option. You're going to do the custom WIM image right here, and that's what you're going to import. So you'll take that WIM, you'll point where that WIM is at, and you're going to pump that. You can move that image if you're running low on space, or you can do that. I also include the full copy of the setup OS when I'm importing that, just to give you some options. So you take that Windows 1809 ISO that you have, you mount it just like you did before, but instead of importing that, you're just going to use that to get all of the other setup information off of there and import that in when you're importing your custom WIM. Again, keep the destination directory short, and it's the same. Next. That will then give you, in your Windows 10 deployment area, that'll give you what images is. In mine, you can right-click and rename that. I always rename it with whatever month that I created a particular image, so I know what I'm actually working on, what I'm sending out, just for that. WDS and Pixie is how I push my stuff out. I use WDS because I want to do multitasking. If you're in a smaller environment, you don't have to worry about having 100 machines all at once doing an image. You don't have to worry about WDS, and you don't have to worry about multitasking.
So those ones that you take off. But I also use WDS for fixie buoy. So you will need WDS at least to get fixie to work, because UT does not have a way to do fixie buoy. So you need at least WDS for fixie buoy at minimum. You want to use multicasting, you can also use it for multicasting as well, but you know you have to use WDS for fixie buoy. If you don't want to fixie buoy in your environment, there is a way. I have not messed with it very much, but there is a way to also create an ISO file that you can use to deploy as well. Or you'll see the card won't do that. I haven't messed with it, but if you ever want to talk to it, we can definitely work there and try to figure out. Task sequences are very similar to what we did before. I still don't put my administrator password in there. I don't put a product key in there. All that same sort of stuff that we did before. Same sort of stuff. It works. I'm not going to get off creating all that stuff. I'm trying to get out of here. So again, this is a section that is a little bit random. There are some sections though that I want to talk about, and this is a prime example. How many of you all have the exact same model of PC everywhere in your environment? Okay, how many have Dell's, HPs, everything everywhere? There we go. So one of the biggest things when I started taking over my environment, the guy ahead of me that was doing the image, this process I completely scrapped, he took every driver that we had for every model of the machine and that, recorded them all with no segmenting. So, yeah, I heard that. You had the same action when I realized that. It downloaded every driver for every machine that we had during that imaging process, instead of just for that manufacturer and just for that machine. I learned the process, and it's called modern driver implementation. Basically, you do a couple of VB scripts that, and they're called model alias. It goes through and it uses WMI to identify the hardware, the manufacturer, and the model. And then you use that model alias and I call make alias. So because HP is HP, Hewlett Packard, so all HP, Dell is Dell, Dell Inc., and Dell something else. All of them are Dell. That'll make more sense when we get here. And then underneath the HP, under the drivers, it's Dell, HP, and then I have Windows 7 and Windows 10. If you guys are just going to do Windows 10, you can have the Windows 10 in there, and then you have your models underneath that. So then you can specifically tell that with some variables in your task sequence which drivers to push out. So you're only doing that. Once I started doing driver alias, model make aliases, just the process of pushing down all those drivers went from 20 minutes just to do that, 20 minutes to the point where I was almost done with my task sequence. Because I was just pushing down like 500 megs of drivers compared to 3 gigs of drivers. It sped everything up. I think, yeah. So this is kind of how that, again, anal organization, but it speeds everything up. So it's very important. I am not going to explain this very well in this presentation. Model aliases is something you have to get in and mess with. It's a VB script. It's not PowerShell based. So you have to remember your VB scripting skills back in the day. But it is, once you get it figured out, you don't have to touch it very often until you get in the machine. Then you remember how to do VB script for a couple of minutes and you shut it and try to stay away from it. But it is something that I have to do regularly. I remember PowerShell. VB is fun, but I copy and paste and adjust my models. There is the deployment bunny. That's where it's talking about how to use model aliases and how that makes it work. Again, something I put the alias user exit is the name of the VB script that does all that. That just goes in the script folder and it gets called. Okay. So this is how I adjust the task sequences. There's 2 task sequences to be able to make that work. First task sequence, and I'll show you. I think I have a picture of that. Driver group 1 and driver group 2. I don't know that I have to worry about driver group 2 because that's just some generic stuff. I actually never put anything in the generic folder, but I have it there in case I ever need to. So I have some weird generic graphics card that's going everywhere. But it's out. It's just plain. It was part of the setup best practices when he was doing this, and I just always had it in there in the folder. But it might become yearly. Like if you have a prox card for proxying into the sun, that would probably be somewhere we go back to your driver and all that. My value that I use is the whatever OS I'm using, make alias for my HP or Dell, and then the model alias for the individual models that I do that. If you've ever looked at the WMI calls to see how some of those machines, their models are, they're really convoluted. With the make alias, with that alias user exit ability, you can take that weird grid and make it into something more human readable. More so on the Lenovo side of the house, Dell is really good. It's an Octoplex 3020 or something like that. It makes really sense. HP is a little weird, but user alias, that script really made when I had some Lenovo to make it really more human readable instead of a bunch of numbers and stuff like that. Go from there. And all that's done in the pre-installed environment of the test sequence. So I have my set drivers, driver 1, driver 2. Those are 2 new task sequence variables in there for installing drivers. Where I name it, and that's where that Windows 10, whatever, alias goes right there. Same thing for driver 2. Now, the inject drivers thing that is the built-in one there, I tell it to do nothing, because if you don't set it to do nothing, remember when I was talking about push all of those drivers down, you don't set it to do nothing, it will push all of the drivers that you have in there down and just defeat everything you're trying to do. Getting all your drivers is a pain as well. I point you to, again, this website. This is another one I referenced. They have a PowerShell script written by a gentleman out of, I'm not sure exactly what he's not, does not live in the United States. He's basically created a PowerShell script that will go to HP's website, go to Dell's website, and go to Lenovo's website, and Microsoft's website, and you can put in what OS you want to do and what model you're doing, and we'll go to their websites and download BIOS updates and driver updates in a package that you can then import into it, instead of having to spend all the time to go and try to find them all on the websites and get them all downloaded. It downloads basically like on Dell's website, the CAD file. Dell's make drivers, they're really helpful for the IT professional. HP has all those little stupid SW, it's a giant pain. This makes all that a lot easier. It's one tool that I use that I download all my drivers with. Just makes it a lot easier. It's nice having one tool to be able to download this all. Just something to make my life easier. I'm not suggesting you use it, but really it's an awesome tool. And I think that reference of 2000, that big reference, I know they've updated it multiple times and they've done a bunch of other cool things with it, but it is very helpful and they do keep it up to date regularly. So if HP or Dell changes where they have that on websites, it won't take them long to get that. So it is a fun tool to mess with. It was a little convoluted, play with a little bit, but there are a bunch of help articles you can figure it out. So you can. I usually just download one version of the driver. On some particular machines, HP specifically, they validate their drivers per feature release. So some models will only have drivers for 1809 and not 1903 yet, so they get validated. And some of those drivers are different between feature releases. Dell doesn't matter, they don't care about that, but HP seems to care about that, so just a word wise, if you're going in and looking for a specific HP driver or something, and you can't find it, you may have to go to the feature release to see what works. Just again, we're trying to learn from trying to do that. Plan. Restate. That's who wrote that thing, and it is very good. If you have SCCM as well, they will actually also import into SCCM those driver packages as well. So this tool was written for both MPT and SCCM. It is a very nice tool. It's fun to play with. It's really nice that then you have those operation system deployment areas out there, writing stuff and everyone's talking about it. So it's a good thing. And again, this is something like a common for it. So we'll go from there. The other thing that I started hitting really hard was updating my BIOS. When I first got there, no one ever updated the BIOS, and we were having issues with that. So I found a way during operation system deployment to update my BIOS from all machines. So when I'm doing an image deploy, I also make sure it has the current or whatever I want the BIOS to be up to a certain level. I have that ability to do that in as well. It relies on the model Aliases script like that. And also, again, Michael Meissman has a nice article in doing that as well. Some of that is also written in. No, that's a partial script. That's actually a partial script that actually does some of that. I've got it working for HP and I've got it working for Dell. I don't have any more Lenovo, so I haven't messed with that, but there is ways of doing that for Lenovo's as well. I'm just not sure how to do that as well. But again, pointing to that. Just telling you how that I did have to add a custom task sequence variable in there for some of that to make it work, just to let you know that if I actually did apply a BIOS upgrade, just make sure I restart the computer so it does it in a controlled way, so I know. Just throwing that out there for you guys to do that. I'm not going to really demo that because I want to get the slides today and get shit some of the other stuff. I don't have my demo working for that today, so I apologize. The last section, especially because we re-image computers every summer, and I love my text, and I know them right now, so I can say this, I love my text, but they can't seem to type the old computer name from the new computer name. So I actually had to write, I found a script, thanks to Jeff Downs, who I was talking about at the very beginning, who showed me how to do this. I found a script that basically, when you go into re-image machine and ask you what that computer name is, it'll actually go into the OS of the previous install and pull the old computer name in there so you don't have to type it. You don't know how much that cleaned up my Active Directory when I started doing that, so I didn't have that fingered names and stuff. So that's very helpful. If you're not doing that, if you're not imaging as much as I am, that may not be important. But in the school environment where I'm imaging regularly, that was very helpful. I'm overriding in my environment. Yeah, that's why pulling the old name up is helpful. The only time it really messes them up though is if for some reason the hard drive crashed or it's a brand new computer, they actually do have to type the name in, and sometimes they forget that, and that's why I'll see computer names in my ED pop up in the computer because they're so used to not having to type computer name in there. Right.
Is it for your resource optional?
No, because you realize it's the so especially because the stuff's come up with having new keys, so when it checks in, it'll realize, oh, it's not the same key, so it doesn't. So I haven't had a problem with that. I do that every single so I haven't had that issue. Good question. Some of the other final task sequences I do, I go ahead and set up the administrator account on all my Windows devices. I just do it because I'm not an administrator. I do create a local administrator account with its own unique username, its own unique password, and task sequence. They'll create at this point of the process, so the GUI is not the same across all machines. It's a different GUI. Just to help prevent these attacks going on. It's not RAID security, it's more security by security. It still has the same username, but if they're looking at GUIs, at least it makes it a little bit harder. It's not RAID security. It's just it gives me a backdoor on the machine.
They're unique machine to machine.
What happened? The point the GUI is different because it's the GUID is being created every time. So it's not being created like I'm not using a GUID. I'm not creating the GUID when I create the image. So if you create the same GUID across all the machines, it's a unique GUID that's generated at the time of that machine's deployment. So that GUID, that's fine. Not saying the GUID, that's just ID GUID that provides the account. So it gets a little bit, it's not basically.
I actually never looked at it.
Yeah, the local admin password is set by a task sequence, and I'm using the old. I'm actually using old CMD net user commands to set all that stuff. With this one, trying to go back in my data, trying to how to set all that stuff and stuff after.
But you're giving them all the same password.
Yeah. But then I can, with another partial script, go and do that. I haven't looked at Microsoft Flaps, if you haven't looked at that. Microsoft Flaps is basically a technology that Microsoft gives away for free. That basically do away with this. It basically sets each individual local administrator account or whatever account you want it to be uniquely and stores that in Active Directory so you can do that.
You can see it looks at trick 5. And they force local admin accounts. Some of those places have the same.
Yeah. So that's why Laps is a new technology. At some point, I'm starting to implement Laps, but I just haven't done that. If I were starting to see something like that, I would want you to start to do something. I'm going to race to make that work and make sure everything's working right. And there's some article. Because I have an KMS server, I'm activating my copy of Office via KMS. I make sure I'm activating Office if I'm running 2016 and not worry about if I'm doing device-based authentication for Office 365 Plus. I will do that there. But it doesn't apply to anybody rushing notification. That shared device, the shared user option, you also do that in that same option. One of the things that I like to do as well is that OEM customization. I know I'm not an OEM, but I like doing that because I'm putting, again, making sure that it's my device and everyone knows it's my device. So when we record on my computer, I show what the, especially if I'm loading it somewhere, I can tell what my computer is, so that I have the device stuff. So I set the model of the computer in that OEM information, and I'll show you what that looks like. And I just throw an image up there of our corporate image, so they know it's us. It's again one of those weird things that I saw that I could do, and it's kind of fun. And I did it, and now it's actually maybe one of those. And the last little bit of information, the last little thing I do in my final test sequence for that is do the generate Windows experience. Started doing this when we started putting SSDs in our machines and swapping them out. If Windows 10 is smart, it treats SSDs differently in machines. If it knows it's there, but it only knows it's there after it runs and the Windows experiences thing. So I wanted to know right away that it's got an SSD or a spinning hard drive, so we can start optimizing that hard drive so I don't have to burn out. Trying to just prolong my stuff, so I'll run that Windows generate Windows experience option right as part of my part of my deployment process, just so it's done. And also just make sure everything's doing that. We talked about logging, and when you're trying to troubleshoot stuff, the logging is very important. So that's another thing we'll go through. See there? I was just showing you. Oh yeah. So that's how you go through and create CM net user admin logo and all that fun stuff. Oh yeah, I was just saying how you can go ahead and make that stuff. That's just the old CMD commands and then image commands create those. I didn't want that password to ever expire because sure enough, I've had times when I go in to get in the local admin account and I go in and just, your password is expired. Great, change the password. So I also figured out how to make sure that the password never expires as well. That's where the custom task sequence. You'll notice one thing on my task sequence for deployment, it's very minimal. I don't do much in here because I want to do most of my customizations in here. This is only stuff that I cannot do in the thing where I want to be specific for those machines. So again, very small area of custom task sequences. This is where I add the admin. This is where I make sure the password never changes, and then I just enable the built-in local administrator account. Kind of shows you how that works. I guess I didn't show the office. Okay, so I guess I have some slides that are really good. Based on Windows General Experience, that's based on an article there, again from the Horn of Research talking about that. Again, helps with the SSDs. So I talked about my slides before I went down. Logging, this is where it's an important part. We'll talk about that because I couldn't remember this off the top of my head. In your custom settings II folder, if you want to make sure the logs from each of your deployments, so you have one place to look at your logs to help troubleshoot. This is the place. This line and this line are two important ones. The SL share is after everything is done, you will copy all of your deployment logs up to one location so you can have them. That's great if everything goes well and you want to just troubleshoot some minor things. If you want to have a logging of just as it's being deployed and all that, this is the shared dynamic logging. Is a line that you want to add into the custom settings IRA, and that will copy the log, the main log as the image is being pushed out, so you can get all of that information as you're going through. Just gives you a little bit of information. And what you have to do is you have to create that dyno log and that logs folder in your root of the deployment share, add those two lines to your custom settings INI folder, and then they'll start working. If you don't create the folder beforehand and you add those things in the custom settings INI, you won't have any logs and you won't try to work. Ryan said it would work, but you gotta add folders first. It will not automatically create. Another thing that I did because my techs, again, they're running around the school trying to do a bunch of imaging all at once, especially in Huntington, we have a high school that has 9 acres under roof, and they're all over that building trying to do that. So I created a website for them to know the status of where everything is at if they're doing much management. Probably not helpful to you guys, but when you're in a school environment, it's very helpful. That basically, our website is reading the telemetry information out of APT that is created, and it's basically convert to HTML. So it's a simple PowerShell script that's running in the backend. It goes to a generic web folder on an ISS server, and they have that, so they can go around and see the status of all of their deployments. It's very simple, it's very rudimentary, but they know if everything's green, that means everything's done in the building. If it's red, they got to go back and look at the machine, or if it's sitting there a long time and hasn't gone, it gives them the percentage so they know what's going on. So it just helps them. It may not be helpful for you guys, but it's just something that I was having fun with my baby. Didn't have fun with PowerShell. And questions? That's a lot of information I just popped to you guys. So if you're playing this role, it probably feels like my throat right now because it's full and there's a lot of information. There is the location. Go ahead and grab that. I put my GitHub, I put all of my slides, a bunch of demo info, a bunch of scripts that I talk about, like that user alias script and all that stuff. I put that all on my GitHub repository for you guys. So you can go on there. If you get in there, that's my email, that's my personal email address. So you can go, that's my personal email address. I check it regularly. If you have questions, email me. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on the Slack channel. I should have added that too, but I hadn't thought about that. Hit me up on the Slack channel and FWVMUG, ask me questions. Again, that was a ton of information that I went through.
If you're not in Slack, see me.
Yeah, see him. He's a Slack person. Or just a Slacker.
Yeah, I took a picture of it.
Yeah, that's great. I will tell you that a lot of the information that I get from this lately has been coming from Twitter. Twitter seems to be accessible at times. I have curtailed and created a list of people that I think are very important in the operations deployment area. I have created a Twitter list, I think it's what they're called deployment. That is my list. You can either follow me because any weird things that I find are important, I'll retweet myself. But that list is a lot. If you want to just see some of the big people in Twitter related to operating system deployment, just look at my list and see who I'm following. That, as a matter of fact, I have a ton of people that I follow, but in reality, the only thing I ever look at Twitter is that list. I have other lists. I still have time. And I barely have time to look at that. And that is a very active group of people, especially after a big conference like it was up in Minnesota I was just talking about. There was a ton of information coming out of there. So I will point you where I learned. If I don't have an answer, I'll point you to someone that I think you can get an answer, or I'll figure it out myself. I'm here to help you. Then some of this may not be directly related to you because I don't think you all have 500, 600 computers you have to image every summer. But if it helps you in any way, shape, or form, or helps you in anything you do, I'm here to help you. So, any questions? If not, thanks for coming, guys. You know how to stop the recording now? No, I know, but I wasn't sure what machine he started recording on. How to stop it. Yeah, good.
Because it wasn't on the actual.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to post this on our community page.
That link's already there.
So you already put it on our community page?
Oh, community page not yet, no.
But have fun with that again. It may take me some time to get back and answers, but I'll try to point you or help you out. If you have any questions on any of the slides, ask, because it's getting better.
I know you're doing this for physical systems, but can you handle your virtual machine requirements the same way?
So the reason I have, okay, so I didn't talk about that, but let's talk about it.
You have control of the handheld thing.
I'm going.
Right from the handheld, they don't need it. Do it.
I know we have tools like VR ops, but I run into budgeting constraints when it comes to buy that.
Yeah, so The reason I do Server 2016 and 2019 on there is because I've got my deployment processes working so well. So I don't create clones or any of that. I actually fixing boot my VM servers and MDT, then with MDT. So I can quote a base image that has all of the weird server settings that I want to or tweak. So I'm fixing booting and doing it that way up there. So there are other ways you can do that. I had MDT working at that point. It's like, ooh, this is a cool toy. Can I do this? Ooh, I can do this. So I even fix and boot my servers in my virtual environment and deploy